Great to have Jonathan Simon and Chad Nailon back on deck as our E-Series pit reporters tonight. All right, let's take a look at the Truck Assist starting grid. And Matty, another pole position for Shane Van Gisbergen in our E-Series.
Yeah, his second of this series. He also has 2 wins next to his name. He'll have Brody Kostecki, a wild card, one of 4 wild cards next to him on the front row of the grid. Anton De Pasquale, 4 poles and 1 win so far in this series. Chaz Mostert, a former Bathurst 1000 winner. There is a former IndyCar champ, an Indy 500 winner, Will Power, getting away from position number 5. Nick Percat and Scotty McLaughlin both have won the great race. Positions 9 and 10 go to Thomas Randall and Bryce Fullwood. He had his lap time discounted in the top 10 shootout and ended up back in position number 10. As we move through midfield, Cameron Waters and Gary Jacobson. There's the Milwaukee entry of Will Davison, a former Bathurst 1000 winner, 2-time in fact. Will Brown in the Penrite racer, position 17, Jake Kostecki. Scotty Pye for DeWalt Racing has Mark Winterbottom, another former Bathurst winner, next to him. A 4-time great race champ, Jamie Whincup, from position number 21. Macaulay Jones and Zane Goddard make up 23 and 24. 25 goes to Simona Di Silvestro. Welcome back in car number 78, the Harvey Norman Mustang this time. Rick Kelly and Jack Smith make up positions 27 and 28. And from the rear of the grid, the Coca-Cola Team Sydney entry of Chris Pither.
It's a great lineup of talent. Thanks for that, Matty. And a couple of other things for us to look out for tonight. Fast repairs are in evidence, so if anybody does get damaged, then they can quickly get back there unlimited for the entire third round. Penalties can apply during iRacing, and so have a look at the mega wall of drivers that you're going to see this evening. And so they can accumulate those, as has been outlined, and we'll continue to try and highlight those for you. You've got to keep an eye out on pit lane speeding, corner cutting, all the things that would apply in normal racing. Light contact, track limits, losing control, hard contact with another car. Team spotters are permitted. Shane Van Gisbergen from the pole position, the Armour All pole, car number 97 for the Red Bull Holden Racing Team. 8 laps the journey, 1 compulsory stop. Frozen conditions, 18 degrees. It's ideal. They'll start loaded up on the clutch, on the line locker. In fact, Simona, who's in the field, had to go and purchase a clutch for the race this evening. There is a slipstream advantage at this racetrack, particularly on that very long Conrod Straight. It's more than 1 kilometre as we await all of the drivers and cars to join the game. Elevation under normal circumstances here, 2,850 feet above sea level, 870 metres. They began racing here at Easter back in 1938. The track changed in 1987 for the World Touring Car Championship round. Our first enduro, known as the Bathurst 1000, back in October 1963, and the revs build now as we are set to go racing. And event number 8 gets underway. Nice start for Van Gisbergen. Kostecki drops into 2nd place. And 3rd into turn 1 with very cold tyres as Anton De Pasquale and Will Power gets sideways and survives. Bryce Fullwood in the Mobil 1 and Mitty's car out wide. And Nick Percat for the 2nd time in the evening having troubles down at turn 1. Rick Kelly also turned around in the Castrol Mustang. So a bunch of people struggling in the opening turn.
Percat was a sitting duck there, but huge damage for Jamie Whincup as well. 5 or 6 cars involved in that. Through turn 2 up to the cutting for the first time. Van Gisbergen holding off Brody Kostecki. He might be a wild card, but don't forget, this is the man who's set up a lot of these sim races. He's guided a lot of these guys, and Van Gisbergen has been mentored as well. So it's car number 97 versus 56 at the front. Anton De Pasquale is 3rd. Then it's Chaz Mostert, Will Power 5th, Andre Heimgartner, Scotty McLaughlin 7th, up to the top of the mountain for the first time.
And this is probably the most difficult lap of the entire journey, trying to judge just exactly how hard to push on these cold tyres. In that sense, it is precisely the same as would normally be the case on a cold tyre at the start of this motor race. Now, they're starting with a theoretical fuel load. They don't go anywhere near burning the whole lot of it. Kostecki, who's on screen, the bottom right-hand corner, will be driving for Penrite Racing later this year. He's been announced as a part of the Pertec Enduro Racing squad there, and off to a great start in the Dunlop Super 2 Series earlier in the year in Adelaide. Check this out. It's a block of supercars, a wall of thunder, 300 kilometres an hour, and Will Power gets into the back of Andre Heimgartner, and there's cars all over the place, mowing and rejoining. So Heimgartner gets back on cleanly in the Ned Racing entry, but is he missing the rear wing? I think he was, so he pulls off for repairs.
Compulsory pit stop is needed in this one, so he's dived in midway through or just towards the end of the first lap. 4 into the chase, just does not go.
McLaughlin, position number 4, car number 17. So Van Gisbergen's got a lead, and already trouble here also at turn 1 for David Reynolds. He's picked up the curb on the exit of 1 and fires it into the wall minus the bonnet. Power's come in for his compulsory stop and repair. So has Andre Heimgartner, and so has Bryce Fullwood in the background there behind the graphics. So Van Gisbergen's got a lead of just 0.2 of a second over Brody Kostecki in the Oasa Batteries entry, and then Di Pasquale in third. Followed then by McLaughlin. Thomas Randall's got off to a nice start. Fabian Coulthard, who showed us that awesome rig that he's got a couple of weeks ago in round 1 of the series. And then Lee Holdsworth, Cam Waters, Will Davison and Chaz Mostert. Top of the hill, warmer tyres now, McPhillamy. And Brody picks up the throttle for a couple of stabs just to establish that the nose was pointing precisely where he wanted it. From 4th gear, it's back to 2nd on the run to the S's and into the dipper. And here's the replay, the BP Ultimate replay. And Will gets into the back of Andre, and that also tangles up the shell car as well. And damage to the back of car number 7.
Wow. Good job by all of them to hold on.
Gisbergen over Kostecki, and joining us from the bunker in Queensland is Craig Baird, the driving standards advisor under normal circumstances for supercars racing. And as always, cold tyres and close racing equals disaster on occasion. Beardo?
Absolutely, it didn't take long, did it? But we're actually going to hand out a drive-through penalty. Car 17, he's run wide, got on the grass, hit the back of Will Power. So afraid to say, car 17 will be doing a quick run through the pit. And the weird part about that is the transit time through the pit lane is actually 17 seconds here. So it's not a massive penalty, but he's going to have to serve one.
Thanks for the update, Craig, and Nash Morris in the background there helping with duties in the bunker as well. So a penalty over the top of Scott McLaughlin, and his spotter will be keeping him up to speed. He's keeping an eye on data, watching the rear view mirror as well.
Okay, I haven't heard anything, mate.
Listen in.
So that's BS, man.
Apparently you might have a drive-through.
And this might relate to what we saw last weekend in Spain, where Max Verstappen and Anton Di Pasquale got together as a result of a bit of the lag that can appear in the game. Because you've got Will Power playing from Charlotte, North Carolina. You've got Scott McLaughlin from the Gold Coast, Queensland. And a game of iRacing that fundamentally hubs out of North America. So there's a lot of computer complexity in all of this. But he has been judged to have made a mistake on the run into the bottom of the chase. So you heard Scotty say it was BS, which is code for not happy with that decision. And so car number 17, which is currently sitting in 3rd position, Shell V-Power Racing entry, McLaughlin will take a penalty as a result. So the margin between 1st and 2nd, Van Gisbergen, and now Di Pasquale has opened up ever so slightly. So that's 1.7 seconds. And Brody has actually come in for his stop, and the boys are standing by in Melbourne for a Pertec pit report. Chad Nailon and Jonathan Simon. Observations.
Observations, crazy start, Crompo, to this one, as probably expected. Early pit stop for Brody Kostecki, so looking for something of an undercut on Shane Van Gisbergen. And how quick were those drivers to, Jonathan, try and react to what was happening with the crash that happened at the chase? Oh, we've got more drama here, Jonathan, at the elbow. Was that McLaughlin or was that the 12?
That was Fabian.
That might have been Coulthard. Yeah,
Fabian.
so that was Coulthard into the wall, but very smart from Heimgartner. He cut the track of the chase after the incident, would have received a slowdown penalty, and by pitting, he's cleared the slowdown. So he actually hasn't lost any time apart from that.
McLaughlin coming in now, and he is absolutely blowing up to his engineer. Wasn't too happy about getting a drive-through for that one.
Thanks, boys. We'll keep in touch with you through the evening to keep an eye on what's going on. We had a glimpse there of Anton Di Pasquale. We're watching Scott McLaughlin, unhappy about the fact that he's been judged to have made a mistake on the run into the chase and got into the back of Will Power. Keep your eyes up, understanding what's going on. Mobile One Racing Appliances Online. Car number 25, Chaz Mostert, who's been a Bathurst winner in reality back in 2014 in one of the wildest races ever at Mount Panorama. The big story in the summer season was his shift across to Walkinshaw Andretti United, and that's him working away at the wheel in the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. He's got Scott Pye behind him in the DeWalt entry. Now, I spoke earlier today to Anton Di Pasquale, and he was bluing about the fact that he lost his engineer and spotter in Brodie Kostecki. So he said, I'm not only losing a right-hand man, I'm actually going to have to race this bloke. So he and Shane are both moaning about the fact that Brodie's pretty handy at this. So we'll see whether or not his early pit stop is going to convert for him. He is the first in the queue at the moment that's actually taken a stop. So it's about 17 plus seconds to transit the lane, plus about 8 seconds to be able to rattle on new Dunlop tyres.
Trying to get to the bottom of Scott McLaughlin, that drive-through penalty that he has received. He hasn't taken it yet, Croppo. He's done his stop, but he hasn't taken his drive-through.
And under normal circumstances, I don't have my Supercars Ops manual next to me, but I think you've got to respond to those commands within 4 laps. That is an unbelievable shot of Anton Di Pasquale on the run through the chase. 300 kilometres an hour, more than 80 metres with every passing second. And look at the way in which he pitches the car into a slide, into the left-hander at the bottom of the chase. Some of them are choosing to try and stroke through there in third. Others are going back into second gear. And Anton heads into the pit lane as we pick up on Alex Davison, local legends, car number 19. And he's battling Brodie Kostecki here, car number 56, with 2 Dunlop Super 2 Series race victories so far in 2020. And a great battle that he's already having with Thomas Randall. He leads the Dunlop Super 2 Series. And so we're looking forward to seeing him in the main game later in the year. And we saw him at Bathurst last year, so very little in the way of genuine Bathurst mileage, although he's done Super 2 mileage at Mount Panorama, as we pick up on Shane Van Gisbergen now in the lane for his compulsory stop.
And Kostecki up to turn 1, and then Shane Van Gisbergen just gets out in front of him.
So that was the key moment there, to see whether or not he actually did get the benefit of the undercut, or whether clear air was serving Shane well. Now, the issue for Shane is he goes out on a cold tyre, and Brodie's on the full attack on a warm tyre. So from 5th gear back to 3rd gear, right-hander turn 2 at Griffin's Bend, just a touch of oversteer mid-corner. There's an enormous amount of positive camber through turn 2, and then it's a blind approach through 3, up into 4 at the cutting, 2nd gear. And this track is mapped exactly like Mount Panorama, with a little jump there as you just shift from 2nd to 3rd on the run up towards Reed Park, and then here at the crest of the hill, 3rd to 4th gear, hovering around 200 kilometres an hour. Metal grate depicted realistically. Again, speeds around 200 odd kilometres an hour, and then building up the speed on the run towards McPhillamy from 215 k's. The cars in reality jump onto 2 wheels, and then a blind approach over the top of Skyline. Feed at 3rd, feed at 2nd, dance on the brake pedal, get it through the dipper on 2 wheels and out the other side. 2nd to 3rd gear for another blind approach to Forest Elbow, back to 2nd gear, and one of the equally slowest corners on the corner, 85 kilometres an hour, and then on to one of the most pleasurable bits of tarmac in global motorsport onto Conrod Straight. Now, before we continue to get too gleeful about this, back to the boys in Melbourne. Chad, Jonathan.
Well, just a quick one. I was keeping an eye and an ear on Brodie Kostecki, and he was fuming driving up Mountain Straight. Absolutely furious at Chris Pither for holding him up down Conrod Straight. He feels like it cost him only one problem. It wasn't Chris Pither, it was actually Alex Davison, but he was properly angry. Felt like that he got held up, and it's cost him any chance of taking the lead.
Thanks for the update on that. It's good for you guys to keep an ear on what's going on in the background. Appreciate it. In fact, earlier in the week in the IndyCar iRacing series, Will Power and Scott McLaughlin were in a vigorous battle at Motegi in Japan, and they got tripped over with some lap traffic and cost them the battle for the lead. There was a bit of emotion spilling over in that one as well. So Van Gisbergen's got the lead by a tiny margin from his mate in car number 56, Brodie Kostecki. And he said to Jess at the top of the show, I kind of regret mentoring this guy. He's going too well at the moment.
Scott McLaughlin in position number 4 there, still hasn't taken that drive-through penalty. Of course, Brodie Kostecki still hasn't taken his first stop. Correction, he has. So that is real. Shane Van Gisbergen has a half a second lead over Kostecki. Anton Di Pasquale 3rd, then McLaughlin. Asterisk next to his name. He's going to have to trundle through pit lane in the next lap and a half. Thomas Randall, Will Power, Chaz Mostert, Bryce Fullwood, Scotty Pye and Mark Winterbottom make up our top 10.
And Craig Baird has sent through the photograph to me of the position of Scott McLaughlin into the back of Will Power, and the image is pretty damning. So thanks for the update from Queensland there. Bit of E-Series adjudication
all
going
over
on
the
digitally
technology.
in the background as well. Thanks, Beardo.
Technological genius, Berto.
That's right. Unbelievable. Todd Hazelwood on screen here, car number 14 being chased by his teammate Nick Percat. These two flying the flag for Brad Jones Racing. There's the Monster Energy Mustang of Cam Waters. Funny conversation with him earlier today. He said he's never been heavily into the game previously. He's done a little bit of it, but he said, when I get out of it, I'm genuinely sweating. I have to wash my race suit. That's how hard I'm working. Now, Todd and Nick are on screen here, down the order a little bit at the moment, but they're in a fantastic battle for 12th and 13th, and they're listening in the background, believe it or not. It's a good evening and welcome, Nick Percat and Todd Hazelwood.
Mate, you couldn't have joined at a more juicier time between us, I tell you what. We are on and each other out at pit exit. I keep looking up, he's in my toes, so you put me at a time.
Yeah.
Come on, Nelson, let's go, mate, come on.
He's hiding behind the steering wheel, Todd, so keep an eye on him in the mirror. He's half a chance to do something crazy at the bottom of the chase here. They've actually got the eyes on when they're trying to talk and drive. It's not an easy thing to do at any stage.
He's got me bottom of my lip at the moment. She's on.
So where's he making ground on you, Todd? How's he doing it?
Look, we're pretty close at the moment, so we both pitted a lap within each other, so tyres about the same. He's got a little bit on me in the chase, I think. Seemed to be good across the top, so yeah, and he's in my toes, so I've got to try and shake him a little bit.
All right,
we're coming from Macca.
Quick right of reply from Nick in the Dunlop Super Dealers entry. Where can you get him, mate? You're going to get some benefit of the draft. There's apparently a good second to be had here.
Watch this.
We're watching.
Oh no. Maybe wrong one. Should have been a second. Really ran on him.
All right, and they're chasing their teammate Macaulay Jones in the foreground in the cool drive entry. So the Plus Fitness Commodore there of Todd Hazelwood. Thanks for talking to us, boys. We'll check in later on. Brad Jones is throwing things at his television screen at the moment. Make sure you knuckleheads do not run into each other. I'm channeling his thoughts.
It's a lot of fun. We picked him up right at the right time too. They're having an absolute cracking duel, and we got him right at the elbow, where everything's slightly busy, as you well know, Crompo.
And the thing is, you wouldn't matter whether you're in a game or a race car or whatever, the last thing you want is one of us talking to them. So you can tell straight away, they're like, oh no, it's him.
Good to see Nelson back there at the home of Nick Percat, licking his lips again, doing absolutely nothing. He'll be there for the entire night. So this battle that we've just focused on is for positions 12 and 13. At the front, it's a 0.7 of a second lead for Shane Van Gisbergen over Brody Kostecki. Anton De Pasquale looking for another podium. He's been so rock solid. Shane Van Gisbergen has already had 2 wins. And here comes Scott McLaughlin for his drive-through penalty. The Shell V-Power Racing team, this takes him out of the top 10.
And remember, Matt, he came into this evening's proceedings in a strong position in the championship with a 55-point leadership margin, 501 points to his credit. So the reason he's lamenting the drive-through penalty is that one of the things in this game, as it is in the Virgin Australia Supercars Championship, is you've got to be consistent. And you do a drive-through penalty, and the transit through here is 17.5 odd seconds. It's going to plummet you down the order. The DeWalt entry, the Holden Commodore on screen of Scott Pye. He's had a couple of second placings on the podium at Mount Panorama, and he's being hunted at the moment by Bryce Forward, and they're feeding back out with Scotty McLaughlin having taken that penalty, and Bryce in the Mobile One Middies entry tucked in behind in car number 2 with all that damage early on.
This looks good up at turn 2. Scott Pye does not want to yield, but McLaughlin's got a better line on the inside. Remember, next race, race 9 of the series, another 8 laps, but a reverse grid race. Now Pye has Bryce Forward on the outside at the cutting. So Van Gisbergen stretches his lead out the front. It's now out to a second. You're looking at third place. A great shot of the Penrite racer, Erebus Motorsport, of Anton De Pasquale, and Anzac Day livery for both cars. For Anton and Davey Reynolds, a former Bathurst 1000 champion, back in the E-Series after sitting out round 2. Will Brown filled in for him and did a solid job as well. Look at this for the ride down Conrod for the final time in this 8th race of the BP Supercars All-Stars E-Series. Another victory going towards the Kiwi of Shane Van Gisbergen as he arrives on cue through the chase. Brody Kostecki, what a sensational job. Wild card entry, and Anton De Pasquale rock solid yet again.
Beautiful drive by Van Gisbergen, who's had 13 starts in the great race. Twice he's been runner-up, including last year. 2014 was stolen from him as a potential victory, but he has done an awesome job tonight to grab 75 points, and he takes a victory, a narrow margin over Brodie Kostecki, who's done an awesome job as expected, followed by Anton De Pasquale in position 3. That is your podium. Thomas Randall, he's a great young guy and a great race driver, and he's already off to a ripping start in the Dunlop Super 2 Series in 2020. He comes home in 4th as a wildcard entry for this evening, followed by Chaz Mostert. Will Power recovering from damage, not a bad recovery also for Scotty McLaughlin. Mark Winterbottom next in 8th position. Macaulay Jones did a fine job in 9th. And Nick Percat managed to get the job done on Todd Hazelwood and rounds out our top 10. We'll have those provisional results for you in just a tick. That's a beautiful look at the run up towards the top of Mountain Straight and turn 2. And what is normally a public road at Mount Panorama. BP Ultimate results, there they are on the screen for you. So 3/4 of a second was the gap between Shane Van Gisbergen and Brodie Kostecki in the final analysis. And all that torturing for Nick Percat, Matty, paid off because he got there in the end, but they didn't quite get to Macaulay Jones.
Yeah, so that's the 3rd win in this series for Van Gisbergen, the 4th podium for Anton De Pasquale. And there's Andre Heimgartner down back in position number 23. That's the first time all series that he's been outside of the top 10, the only driver who's finished in the top 10 leading into this round in every single race. So as we take a look at the Koala highlights, it was a good start from Shane Van Gisbergen, but watch this behind them. There's trouble as Will Power gets it up on 2 wheels and saves it. Then Nick Percat gets spun around. Bryce Fullwood goes off. Roll call, please. Jack Smith, Rick Kelly, Jamie Whincup also had damage, and here was the battle where 4 came into trouble at the chase. So Chaz Mostert, Will Power, Scotty McLaughlin all involved in that, and Scotty McLaughlin copping a 17-second penalty, or a drive-through penalty. Davey Reynolds back in this game. He finds the wall on exit out of turn 1. Pit stops played their part. So 1 compulsory pit stop in this race, 1 in the next, and then 2 in the last that we'll have. Just amazing. We're so used to seeing these cars get into a rhythm at Bathurst over the 161 laps. This was wham bam, thank you ma'am. It didn't stop. Absolutely didn't stop. And Shane Van Gisbergen showed pure pace yet again, but look out for Brodie Kostecki. These guys start from the rear of the grid in our next race. It'll be a lot of fun.
It's certainly going to be interesting, isn't it, Maddie? Another one in the bag for Shane Van Gisbergen, and he joins us now for our Coopers live chat. Congratulations, Shane. That looked like a lot of fun out there tonight. Brodie was right on your tail.
Hey guys, yeah, that was a mega race. A lot of pressure from those boys. I thought, I knew they were going to work together. They did a split strategy, but yeah, pretty tight coming out of the pits. But Brodie might be a little faster, but yeah, we hung on, which is pretty cool.
Well, you'll have your work cut out for you in the next one with a reverse grid. You'll be starting at the back. All the best. Have fun. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, look forward to it.